Alright, folks, today we're stepping into a tale that's dripping with ambition, raw conflict, and a competition so relentless it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. We're diving into the moment Oleksandr Usyk, the slick Ukrainian maestro, faced the harsh realities of the heavyweight division against the powerhouse and notorious wild card, Derek Chisora. This wasn't just a fight, it was a collision of styles, wills, and pure chaos. I'm going to break it all down for you. How Usyk's dreams clashed with Chisora's war cries, how one man rose while another fought to stay relevant, and what it all meant in the brutal world of boxing. So stick around until the end, hit that like button, and get ready, it's going to be a tense ride. Let's start with Oleksandr Usyk. This guy's name lit up the boxing world back in 2012 at the London Olympics. He danced his way to gold, outclassing Italy's Clemente Russo in the final, and that victory dance. It went viral. Even if you didn't know boxing, you knew Usyk, the grinning, twinkle-toed champ who just conquered the amateur scene. When he turned pro, he didn't waste time. In just his 10th fight, he snatched the cruiserweight world title, smashing Evander Holyfield's record for the fastest climb to a championship. Wins over Murat Gassiev, Mary's Bridis, and Tony Bellew turned him into a global force. The man was untouchable, a technical wizard with footwork that left opponents swinging at air. But Usyk wasn't satisfied. He had his eyes on the heavyweight division, dreaming of joining legends like Holyfield and David Haye, fighters who'd ruled both cruiserweight and heavyweight. So, in 2020, he took the leap, and his first real test. Derek Chisora. Now, Chisora's a different beast. This guy's a walking thunderstorm, powerful, unpredictable, and never shy about stirring the pot. He'd been in the game for years, racking up wins but also infamy. Remember 2012? He stepped into the ring against Vitaly Klitschko, but before the first bell, he slapped the Ukrainian legend across the face at the weigh-in. Then, in the ring, he spat water at Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly's brother. The boxing world lost its mind, some called it disgraceful, others pure theater. Chisora didn't care. He lost that fight, but his antics kept him in the spotlight. Later that year, at a press conference, he brawled with David Haye right in front of the crowd, earning a temporary ban. Fast forward, and Haye, ironically, became his manager, adding fuel to an already wild fire. Chisora was fearless, a brawler who thrived on chaos, and when he signed to face Usyk, he promised war. The buildup was electric. At the pre-fight press conference, Chisora rolled in like a comic book villain, face painted white, war scrawled across his chest, a black smile smeared on like the Joker. He grabbed the mic and roared, "I'm bringing the African Mingo style. I'm going to rough and tough him. I'm going to war the African style, he's coming with that European style. I am going to war, that's all I know right now. It's fight time. Either we knock him out, or he quits on his stool, that's what we're going for." The crowd buzzed, feeding off his energy. David Haye, in his corner, doubled down. "Chisora's ready for war," he said. "He's fit, he's got 12 rounds in him, and he wants to do damage. Heavyweight isn't cruiserweight, without knockout power, Usyk's got no business here." Haye was convinced Usyk, the pillow-fisted technician, couldn't handle Chisora's relentless pressure. Usyk, though, cool as ice. Weighing in at a lean 217.5 pounds, he brushed off the noise. "There won't be any war," he said flatly, a smirk tugging at his lips. When asked about Haye's jab at his power, he just shrugged. "Sorry." That was it. No trash talk, no theatrics, just quiet confidence. This was his second heavyweight fight, his first in a year, and the stakes were sky-high. He wasn't just chasing a win, he was paying tribute to the Klitschko brothers, who'd mentored him, and proving he belonged among the big boys. October 31, 2020. Wembley Arena, London. No fans in the stands, COVID-19 had emptied the place, but the tension was deafening. The bell rang, and it was on. Chisora charged out like a bull, swinging wide, heavy punches, trying to impose his size and strength. Usyk countered with speed, slipping shots and firing back with precision. Early on, Chisora landed a thudding right that got Usyk's attention, rocking him just enough to raise eyebrows. The Ukrainian kept his distance, though, using his jab to keep Chisora at bay. Round 2, same story, Chisora barreling forward, throwing bombs, catching Usyk with a few glancing blows. Usyk absorbed them, tagged Chisora back, but the size gap was glaring. Chisora looked massive next to him, a hulking figure pressing the action. By the third, Chisora started leaning in, clinching Usyk whenever he could, slowing the pace. The ref barely blinked at it. Usyk met the onslaught with counters, landing clean shots to the body that made Chisora wince. The crowd, well, the imaginary one, would have been roaring. Chisora's aggression was fierce, but Usyk's composure held firm. In the fourth, Usyk shoved Chisora off, taking control. The Brit's punches slowed, his steam fading, while Usyk settled in, picking his moments. A sharp left snapped Chisora's head back, and you could see the Ukrainian finding his rhythm. He was the matador now, taming the bull. Round 5 was Usyk's breakout. His footwork dazzled, darting in, out, side to side, while his counters stung. Chisora kept coming, but he was eating shots, his face reddening under the paint. The fight was heating up, a chess match turning into a slugfest. By the 6th, Usyk's punches were piling up. They weren't devastating, not yet, but they were consistent, jabs, hooks, body shots wearing Chisora down. The big man soaked it up, still swinging, still dangerous, but the tide was turning. Round 7 nearly ended it. Usyk landed a crisp combination, a jab, then a right, that sent Chisora wobbling. The bell saved him, cutting off what could have been a knockout. You could see it in his eyes, he was hurting. The 8th flipped the script. Chisora, gasping for air, found a second wind. He pressed Usyk against the ropes, unloading heavy shots that landed clean. Usyk's calm cracked for a moment, he was taking punishment now, his back and ribs aching from the onslaught. Every punch from Chisora echoed through the empty arena, a reminder of his raw power. But Usyk fought back, slipping out, landing a combo of his own to close the round. In the 9th, Chisora rallied again, digging deep, though you couldn't tell if it was grit or fumes keeping him upright. Usyk stayed steady, weathering the storm, his face a mask of focus. The 10th ramped up the intensity. Both men traded blows, Usyk's speed clashing with Chisora's desperation. The Ukrainian had the edge, his shots crisper, his movement sharper. Chisora was fading, but he wouldn't quit. Round 11, Chisora, exhausted, kept swinging, hammering Usyk's body late in the game. Usyk answered with flurries, outworking him, his activity stealing the round. By the 12th, it was a war of attrition. They slugged it out, toe-to-toe, neither backing down. Chisora's punches were heavy but wild, Usyk's were calculated, relentless. The final bell rang, and both men stood tall, chests heaving, a testament to their grit. The final bell had rung, the sweat-soaked canvas bore witness to 12 grueling rounds, and now it was time for the verdict. The judges huddled, their scorecards ready, as the announcer's voice cut through the eerie silence of Wembley Arena. 117 to 112, 115 to 113, 115 to 113, he declared. Unanimous decision, your winner, Alexander Usyk. For a fleeting second, the empty stand seemed to pulse with life. Usyk, his face bruised but unbroken, thrust his fist skyward, a quiet roar escaping his lips. The absence of a crowd couldn't dim the weight of the moment, this was his triumph, hard-earned and undeniable. In the stillness, you could almost hear the echoes of what would have been, thousands of voices cheering, chanting his name, celebrating the Ukrainian who just conquered another mountain. Later, in the dim glow of the post-fight interview, Usyk leaned into the mic, his voice steady despite the toll of the night. "I'm fine," he said, brushing off the weariness that clung to him. "Derek boxed dirty and hard, just as I expected. My back, my ribs, they hurt, but that's another story. He flashed a faint smile, the kind that hinted at the pain he wouldn't let define him. Those words carried weight. Chisora had pushed him, tested him in ways few had before. The elbows, the clinches, the sheer physicality of the big man had left their mark, but Usyk stood tall, unbowed. This wasn't just a win, it was a declaration. With this victory, he'd cemented his place as the mandatory challenger for Anthony Joshua's WBO heavyweight title, a golden ticket to the division's elite. The path ahead was clear, and it led straight to the top. As the adrenaline faded, Usyk's thoughts turned to the man holding that prize. He stepped to the edge of the ring, gazing out into the void where fans would have stood, and called out, "Anthony, hello." His voice bounced off the empty seats, a challenge wrapped in calm. Joshua, watching from near ringside, caught the words and grinned, a knowing, almost playful response. He'd heard it loud and clear. Usyk wasn't done. "I'm coming for you, Anthony," he added, his tone shifting, icy with intent, cutting through the air like a blade. It wasn't bravado, it was a promise. The boxing world perked up. Two titans, one a technical genius, the other a powerhouse champ, were on a collision course. The stakes had just skyrocketed, and everyone knew it. Usyk wasn't here to play, he was here to claim the crown. Across the ring, Derek Chisora stood, head high despite the loss. The scorecards read defeat, his 10th in a career of 32 wins, but you wouldn't know it from his demeanor. He didn't slink away, didn't bury his face in shame. Instead, he took a different path. After the formalities, he made his way to Usyk's locker room, gloves in hand, a grin breaking through the war paint still streaked across his face. "Sign these for me," he said, holding them out to the victor. Usyk obliged, scribbling his name with a nod of respect. Then, in a scene straight out of a movie, the two camps sat down together. Burgers appeared, greasy, glorious comfort food, and laughter filled the air. Usyk's team swapped stories with Chisora's, the tension of the fight melting into something rare in this brutal sport, camaraderie. For a moment, they weren't rivals, they were warriors sharing a meal, bound by the unspoken bond of what they'd just endured. Boxing's toughness reigned supreme, but so did its humanity. For Usyk, this was more than a footnote. It was his 18th professional win, his second in the heavyweight division, and a megaphone blasting his arrival to the big boys club. He'd faced doubters, Hayes' pillow-fisted jab still lingered in the air, but he'd silenced them with every jab, every counter, every round he'd outlasted Chisora. This wasn't the cruiserweight sandbox anymore, this was the land of giants, and Usyk belonged. His record stayed perfect, his ambition sharper than ever. He'd danced through the Olympics, dominated cruiserweight, and now, at 33, he was carving his name into heavyweight lore. The Klitschko brothers, who'd guided him early on, would have been proud. This was their protege stepping into their world, honoring their legacy with every move. For Chisora, it was a different story, but no less compelling. His 10th loss stung, no doubt, 32 victories couldn't erase that, but this wasn't a collapse. He'd gone toe-to-toe with a master, pushed him to the brink, and left everything in the ring. The painted face, the African Mingo style, the war he'd promised, it wasn't enough to win, but it earned him respect. At 36, Chisora was a veteran, a survivor, the kind of fighter who'd take on anyone, anywhere, and damn the odds. He'd come up short, sure, but he'd reminded everyone why boxing's chaos is its lifeblood. He was the storm that tests the ship, and Usyk had weathered it, just barely. This fight, this night, wasn't just another bout on the calendar. It was a milestone etched in sweat and blood, a testament to what happens when ambition meets unrelenting will. For Usyk, it was proof that hard work, dedication, and a refusal to buckle could pave the way to greatness. He'd taken Chisora's best shots, absorbed the dirty boxing, and come out the other side stronger. His rise wasn't slowing, it was accelerating, his eyes locked on the heavyweight crown like a hunter zeroing in on prey. Joshua loomed large, a mountain to climb, but Usyk had the tools, the speed, the smarts, the heart. This win wasn't the end, it was the spark for something bigger, a prelude to a showdown that'd shake the sport. Chisora, meanwhile, played his part in the chaos that makes boxing irresistible. He'd stormed in with bravado, fought with fury, and left with dignity. He didn't get the knockout he'd vowed, didn't make Usyk quit on his stool, but he'd made him bleed, made him hurt. That's the heartbeat of this game, the unpredictable fire that keeps us watching. Win or lose, Chisora's a warrior, the kind of fighter who'd rather go down swinging than fade quietly. And in that locker room, sharing burgers with the man who'd beaten him, he showed there's more to this sport than fists and titles. There's respect, forged in the furnace of battle. So where does it all lead? Usyk's on a collision course with Joshua, a fight that'll test everything he's built. Can he topple the champ, claim the WBO strap, and cement his name among the all-time greats? Or will the heavyweight division's brutal reality finally catch up? For Chisora, it's about what's next, another war, another chance to prove he's still got it. This night at Wembley, empty seats and all, was a chapter in their stories, a clash that showed ambition can soar and chaos can endure. What's the next twist? Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below. Where do you see Usyk's heavyweight journey going? Until next time, keep your eyes on the ring, folks, this story's far from over.